Well, and it's time for perspective, and the conversation tonight is about the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the resignation of the 3 commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and that is Consolata Nkadha Bucha Minor, and you also have Margaret Mwachanya and Ambassador Paul Kurgat. But obviously, for quick starters into this conversation, the 3 commissioners had this to say about the chairperson. And they said the removal of a CEO, that is Ezra Chiloba, is a weighty matter, and saying Chebukati suspended the CEO unilaterally. And they accused also some members of the commission of leaking confidential documents for personal gain, and also arguing that the commission boardroom was a venue for peddling misinformation, grounds for mistrust, space for scrambling for, and chasing personal glory. But then at the heart of it is the suspension of Ezra Chiloba of a procurement related to the 2017 general election. But it appears like the troubles for the IEBC started even way before 2017, because at the heart of another procurement scandal, so to say, is the former IEBC leadership, Isaac Hassan, the chairperson, and the former CEO, James Oswago. And to help me deal with the legal as well as the political question are 2 gentlemen in studio. Lawyer Stephen Mogaka, who is a long-lost analyst, but then he is back now. And we also have Godfrey Otsotsi, a nominated member of the ANC, but who insists, well, at least by the decision made by the political parties tribunal, that he is the ANC Secretary General. So all of you are very much welcome. Thank you. Let's begin with the question of the legality of the commission as currently constituted. Wakili Steve Mogaka. Can the IEBC and its commissioners, 3 of them now, conduct any legit business as there is?
Thank you. Sadly, yes, they can transact business. Because the IEBC Act provides that notwithstanding there being a vacancy within the membership of the commission, the commission will be deemed to be lawfully constituted and can transact business by either having 50% of the membership, rather the existing membership of the commission, subject to a minimum of 3. So since quorum for transacting business is 3, I think the remaining 3 commissioners can transact business unless somebody moved to court and declared the chairman not a commissioner for purposes of interpreting that particular section, because the section provides that the quorum shall be 3 commissioners. Now the ball is in the air, and it really now requires that a Kenyan moves to court to ask the court to interpret whether that section contemplates that the chairman shall be counted as one of the commissioners, and therefore to get to the number of 3 that is required to transact.
Honorable Otsotsi, with the tensions and the simmering rows in that particular commission, all the way from, after the conduct of the 8th of August general elections, were you surprised by the resignation of the 3 commissioners today?
Well, personally, and I think it's most Kenyans, I was not surprised because before this decision today, we have seen a lot of drama at IEBC. First of all, you saw the letter from Chebukati to Chiloba, the internal memo, what it said about a lot of issues at IEBC, procurement issues, issues to do with procedure, issues to do with corruption, were all in that letter. Later on, we saw Chebukati himself denouncing that letter and saying that he never said that, but it was already in the public domain. Then in October last year, there was that surprising resignation of Roslino Akombe, who resigned and fled to the US. Of course, a lot of revelation about the conduct at IEBC. Then recently we saw the compulsory leave we saw Chiloba had been sent on leave on allegation of procurement issues.
Yeah.
And it came out that some commissioners were not happy, they were not involved. So today's decision of the 3 commissioners to resign was not a surprise, and it is a climax of what we have been saying, especially us as members of NASA, that there is a serious problem with the IEBC.
That needs fixing.
And the credibility of IEBC is an issue that we have to look at.
Absolutely.
We went into the election in August with that challenge, and we saw what happened. We saw what happened in October election. So this is actually an anticlimax for this IEBC.
And we'll talk about, moving forward in terms of how this commission can be repaired. But Mogaka, you have the CEO already on what you would, however you want to term it, whether it's leave or suspension in itself. And you also have now a commission that has 3 commissioners. And the intent of even the IEBC Act, even as it was amended, was to ensure there's a clear demarcation between the role of the commissioners as well as the roles of the secretariat. But there always appears to be a clash between the secretariat and the commissioners. Do you think it has been, our short-sightedness that has led to this lacuna?
Yes and no, because there is supposed to be a very clear dichotomy between the commission and the secretariat.
Yeah.
And it was contemplated that it is the secretariat that would run the day-to-day business of the commission, while the commissioners would deal with the policy issues and advisory issues. But where we stand now, it looks like Chebukati, or the chair, appears to be an executive chairman, essentially having executive authority within the commission. And that is where clarity lacks, and therefore there is always an interface or a conflict between the roles of the secretariat and the commission. But truth be said, the only office that is recognized in the law is that of the chairman, the deputy chairman, and the secretary. So whatever we are calling the secretariat, those are really employees of the commission, and therefore they are subservient and subordinate to the authority of the commissioners, and particularly the chair.
Absolutely. Otsotsi, looking at the issues here, because you have a situation where, when 3 commissioners resign, but you have the chairperson, Boya Mulu, and Professor Abdi Guliye on one side, and then you have these other 3 commissioners on one side, that is Nkadha Bucha Maina, Margaret Mwachanya, and you also have Ambassador Paul Kurgat. Would you say that there's political interference in the commission?
Honestly, from where I sit, I read politics in this whole thing. First of all, the Jubilee side tried to make amendments into the IEBC and Election Act, you remember. And very recently, the court threw out those amendments. And then yesterday, you had the unsolicited voices talking about the amendment to the Constitution. And then today, this happens. So you have a situation where you have 3 commissioners who have resigned. You have 3 commissioners who are remaining in office. And as Wakili says, the 3 commissioners can legally transact business. Because according to Article 250 of the Constitution of Kenya, an independent commission like the IEBC, you need between 3 to 9 commissions to make it a commission. So as currently constituted legally, according to the Constitution, the 3 commissioners,
it's good you talk about legal legitimacy. Yeah. But would you say the 3 of them have political legitimacy?
I'm coming to that.
All right.
Legally, they, according to the Constitution and according to the relevant acts of Parliament, they can continue performing their roles. But IEBC as currently constituted lacks credibility, public trust and credibility. And therefore, as it is now, even in Parliament where I sit, if any petition comes to Parliament to petition these three individuals under Article 251 of the Constitution, it will sail through. Because under Article 251 of the Constitution, there are about 4 grounds for one to be removed as a commission of an independent commission. One is a gross violation of the Constitution and the law. 2 is physical and mental incapacity. 3 is the issue of incompetence. And 4 is bankruptcy. If you look at all those grounds, clearly the issue of incompetence will come in, and the issue of gross violation of the law and the Constitution will come in. So chances are that the petition, if well presented to Parliament, it will go through, and the President will be obligated to set up a tribunal to investigate the 3.
Absolutely.
So the best thing they can do, Chebukati and his 2 other commissioners, they will save this country a lot of pain by resigning.
All right. And that is a question I want to throw to Steve Mogaka. Before we do that, of course, a reminder of a big question tonight. We are asking you, should the IEBC be disbanded? In your opinion, should the IEBC be disbanded? 22162 is our SMS line. Tell us what you think, your name and where you're texting us from. And also on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 at Jacob Kioria. But of course, there's that question on resigning. And there appears to be a tandemity in terms of opinion from the minority side and the majority side in Parliament. The minority leader in the Senate, that is the Honorable James Orengo, has said the other commissioners should forthwith resign. And I will use his words, the IEBC is cursed. Kipchumba Murkomen, the majority leader, still in the Senate, says they should resign or the Parliament will form a tribunal to investigate them. And obviously, like you've had Honorable Otsotsi, tell about the procedures on which to remove them from office. Is it a question we should be conversing at this point?
I highly doubt, because I think we are seeking to close the staple when the horse is long bolted. The recent chorusing about the resignation of the remaining 3, if you asked me, is very, very dishonest. Because time and time again before we went to the election, there were very, very serious challenges about the credibility of the IEBC. Yet, the people shouting now about the resignation of the remnant commissioners, some of them really ring-fenced the very commission and commissioners, knowing, as they did, that they had very serious credibility challenges. But all said and done, the question now of subjecting the remaining commissioners to a petition, as my honorable member has said, is a case that has got to be dealt with on its merit. Because you really need to prove incompetence, you really need to prove gross misconduct or gross violation of the Constitution of the 3 remaining commissioners as individuals. But all said and done, what is of more urgency now is whether or not the 3 remaining commissioners resign. I do hope that those who say they resigned actually tendered their resignations to the president, because that is the requirement in law. You don't give a press conference. That does not constitute in law a resignation.
And Chebukati says he has also not received any notice from them.
Exactly. So these might be musical chairs from those 3 commissioners trying to test the waters and see how Kenya will react. So if, as we suspect, they are courageous to submit their resignations to the president, then the law requires that their replacement commences immediately. And therefore, if we succeed in replacing these 3, I do hope that whether the remaining Chebukati...
It should be 4 because Rosalie Nakombe also resigned.
Rosalie Nakombe also ought to have been replaced long ago. And this is why I say that I think we are not honest in our fidelity to the law, because 6 months down the road, Rosalie Nakombe has not been replaced. I think we are doing very, very badly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and really what as a nation we require, because they are required to start dealing with the very critical issues of boundary review of the electoral units. And we cannot transact that.
And with the potential for a referendum.
With a potential for a referendum. But who knows, now that the court did not protect Chebukati, who knows whether these resignations are actually supposed to derail the process of dealing with Chebukati. Who knows whether these resignations are meant to sabotage a referendum if there were to be one. Who knows? I can't agree more with the Honorable Otsotsi that really this is politics being played out, and let's watch how it unfolds.
You will remember days before the 26th of October when there were serious doubts on whether this election would happen. The chairperson of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, coming out and saying, I'm issuing a yellow card to all presidential candidates and saying, if they don't stop, I am going to resign. And from that, you found a situation where the commission was seriously divided, because that is what he was alluding to. Shouldn't he have resigned then?
Well, one thing that is very clear is Chebukati and his commissioners are very insincere.
They are insincere.
Very insincere. If you look at the events from last year to now, you clearly see that we are dealing with people who are very insincere. And when you have an electoral commission with commissioners who are very insincere, then you are in trouble as a country.
Yeah.
So that's why we are saying the best Chebukati and his 3 colleagues can do to save Kenyans a lot of pain is for them to resign. Us in NASA, we are looking at this issue differently from the way Jubilee is looking at it. And it is important for Kenyans to know that NASA now is absolved from blame, because we didn't go into an election, repeat election in October. Even
when your party leader says that it's Raila Odinga who made a unilateral decision to withdraw from the election?
He was not truthful, and I will come to that.
You are contradicting your party leader.
Yes, that one I can say, because you remember there was a joint statement they all signed.
Yeah.
All the principals signed a statement of pulling out from the repeat election. Yeah. So we should not go there, because it is a signed documentary evidence. Okay. So we did not go into the October election on the basis that we could not have gone into an election with an electoral commission that is compromised, with an electoral commission that is not independent. And clearly it has come out that really we have serious issues at the commission. So us in NASA, we are saying we need a clean sweep, and it is not just about...
Does that include the Secretariat also?
Yes,
for the
we don't just talk about replacement of commissioners, because this is the 3rd time we are replacing the commissioners. Remember, we replaced Kivuitu and his team. We came and also replaced Hassan and his team, bring in these people, and now we want again to replace them. So we must look at this issue from a wider perspective.
All right.
And see, institution, what are the things that are missing? And that is why we in NASA talk about electoral justice.
Electoral justice.
And comprehensive electoral reforms.
All right.
That is what we want.
There's a question.
And just before you come in, the political angle. I think NASA, we are looking at this thing differently from Jubilee. There are some people within the Jubilee who have started misinterpreting the handshake between Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. They have started thinking about maybe the handshake was about constitutional review. So when you see some of these things happening at the IEBC, could be an agenda to derail any possible referendum. No one has talked about the what is contained in the handshake.
And you know,
let us give our leaders time
to do that,
to tell us what is it that they wanted in the handshake.
Good. Mogaka, as you respond to that very quickly, because I'm under pressure to wind up, as you respond to that very quickly, also talk about how do we ensure that the IEBC is insulated from political interference. And there's also this question, why is the chairman always appearing to throw the secretariat under the bus?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to pick the cue from Mheshimiwa and to be fair to Jebukati and his commissioners without holding their brief. They really needed to stay put and give Kenya an election, irrespective of the quality of the election. A bad election is really better than no election at all, because this country was facing a crisis that would have thrown us into uncertainty and a constitutional crisis. So, bad as they are, let us also give them credit that these commissioners came into office too late in the day to adequately prepare and give Kenya an election that was flawless. Be it as it may, yes, they served their purpose then. Maybe they have learned from the mistakes and they really need then to be given time to serve their full term. But coming to your specific questions, as I indicated earlier, the chairman of the commission is a statutory and actually constitutional office. And therefore, ultimately, the buck stops with him. You can remember from the late Kivuitu, Isaac, Hazen, and now Chebukati, the buck ultimately stops with the chairman. And it is incumbent upon the chairman to do what it takes to put the secretariat on check and on the spot. And I know currently now the question on the table is about the procurement that were taking place before the 2017 election. And really, at the end of the day, if the auditor has submitted a report that points fingers at certain members of the executive, it is only fair that they step aside and they go and face scrutiny.
Absolutely.
And that does not amount to throwing anybody under the bus. In fact, because the matter is alive in court, we need not talk too much about it. But since our CEO has sought court's protection, we do trust that justice will be done and be seen to be done.
Absolutely. I'll give you 30 seconds because my director tells me to wind up. 30 seconds to tell us why you insist that you're the ANC Secretary General even after your party leader disowned you and named Barack Muluka as the ANC Secretary General.
My friend, I don't want to use the word insist.
Yes.
Political parties are managed as per their constitution, as per the Political Parties Act, and as per the constitution of this country. Those are the key three instruments of management of political parties. And therefore, political parties must be managed within that. Political parties are not private entities. They are public institutions which must follow the law. I do not have a personal issue with my party leader. I have an ideological difference with him on the issues of, one, adherence and fidelity to the law of political parties. Two, matters of strategy. Those are the two issues I have an issue with. Barack Muluka is my friend. I have no problem with him. But he's someone I respect a lot. He's a learned person. He comes to these studios and analyzes things for you, but he knows the truth. The law must be followed. And I don't want to go beyond that because the matter is in court.
All right. Fantastic. But obviously there was a political parties tribunal that nullified Barack Muluka's appointment as Secretary General of the ANC. And of course, we're going to wait for the same. But in the meantime, the situation at Anniversary Towers continues to call for the monitoring of the media. And that is what we will be doing. The chairperson said he had not received any communication from the IEBC commissioners on their resignation. Maybe tomorrow he will be able to issue a comprehensive statement, and we'll be following up on the same. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure hosting you tonight, and your contributions very much appreciated, and hoping we can do this more as the matters unfold. Now,